guys, Nebraska Farm Boy here. I do apologize if I sound kind of funny because I've got a cold that I'm getting over. But today we are going to be showing you what I consider to be the top 3 most useless strikes that you don't need to know. Now, it's not that these strikes would never work ever. They do actually work for what the people say they work for. The problem is I just don't see any reason to ever use them. Alright, so let's get into it. So the first strike I want to talk about is the web strike. Now, this was originally designed by Spartans, to the best of my knowledge, to get in underneath enemies' helmets, okay? So there was a little gap in between your breastplate and your and the base of your helmet, and the Spartans would use this web strike because it's narrow to get in between there and attack that neck, okay? So essentially it attacks the neck. It's kind of the same concept as a punch to the neck, but they use a web strike in order to get between the helmet and the breastplate. Now, that was a good concept back in the day, but some people still teach that today, and personally, I don't like that, okay? The point is that there's really no purpose. Nobody's wearing helmets today, and you could say, well, people do tuck their chin naturally when they're fighting, and that's a good thing. However, if your chin is tucked, okay, I don't really care if I land my punch on the throat. Since you are not wearing a helmet, I can land my punch on your chin and it's still going to be devastating. I don't need to land it on your throat. So if I go in for a strike to your throat and then you tuck your chin and I punch anyways, you're still going to be having a bad day. The second strike that I think is kind of useless is the chop. Now, some people really like this, and again, I'm not saying that people who use these are morons or bad people. The point is, I just don't see much use of them, for myself personally. I like to keep my fighting style relatively simple and keep all these excess nonsense out of it, okay? So the chop essentially is when you curl your hand so it looks like you're going to do a palm heel strike, okay? And you come in sort of like a roundhouse, sort of, and you chop down to the neck, okay? It's kind of the same as that old karate chop. However, they always kept their fingers out so they could break their fingers off, okay? The way you properly do a chop is you actually curl your fingers in, just so you know. You can do it this way, or you can do it that way, okay? You can go front or back, okay? And you always want to land on the bony part of your hand instead of on your thumb. That'd be a bad idea. Now, it's not an entirely useless strike. It does work at what it does, okay? If you get chopped to the neck, you're going down. Everybody knows that. However, I don't see much of a reason to do a chop to the neck. I would much sooner use a hammer fist. Okay, and you could say again, what if somebody tilts their head to the side? Guess what? I don't care if my hammer fist hits the neck or it hits the ear. You're gonna go down. Okay? So, personally, you can already kind of see that I prefer to keep my hand in a fist. And that's because the fist is effective straight, it's effective roundhouse, it's effective hammer fist, it's effective uppercut, okay? The fist is effective in so many different ways, whereas this web strike is only effective one way, to the throat. Okay, this chop, only effective one way, to the side. Okay? And the final one that I want to point out is just terrible. I don't think that has any place in martial arts, and or self-defense, I should say. Maybe it has a place in martial arts. It has no place in self-defense, however, in my humble opinion, and that's the educational defense. This is called several different things, but we're going to call it the educational defense, and that's where you essentially take your hand like so, and you put it in that notch, you know, right in your throat between those two, I believe they're tendons, and you put it right there and you press in, and it does hurt. I mean, yeah, but the reason that people do this is where the tragic flaw really comes in. People say that, I mean, somebody's getting riled up, and you know, they're looking like they're picking for a fight, and you're afraid that they're gonna hit you, so you're like, no, and so you come in with this weird jabbing motion that's gonna break your finger into their neck. Okay, so what that's supposed to do is show them that you know how to fight. Okay, you should never show somebody that you know how to fight unless you have to fight them. Okay, here's what I have. if you're going to de-escalate a situation, you're not going to do that by hitting someone or physically touching them. De-escalating a situation is done at this distance where you're still talking. Once the talking stops and the fists are flying, you don't need educational defenses. And you don't need educational defenses before the fists start flying, because that is still a strike to the throat, which is legally lethal force. So for me personally, I have no use for those techniques to some degree. Okay, I'm not saying that if I happen to find my hand in this position and I see an opening, a chop, okay, I kind of like the chops still, but I do not like that educational defense, and I have very little use for a web strike to the front, okay? They're kind of outdated techniques, okay? You just need, really, to be honest, curl your hands in a fist. Obviously, I don't keep my hands in a fist when I'm trying to de-escalate a situation. I want my hands open. However, as soon as the situation goes south, we're going to have our hands at least in loose fists so that we can do punches. Okay? If we get up close, still, I want a hammer fist instead of a chop, or I want a hammer fist so I can hit front, I can hit side, I can punch low. If I decide to do that, I can do a roundhouse, okay? I want to have my hand in a fist. I don't want to have my hand in a karate chop, and I certainly don't want to have my hand like this, because there's only one thing I can do there. Could it work? Yes. Should you do it? No. Okay? It could work. It could be effective. But that doesn't mean that you're going to have time when the fists are flying and all you see is red. You aren't going to have time to think about this kind of stuff. You aren't going to have time to think, okay, should I have my hand in a web strike, or a chop, or a fist? Just keep it in a fist or a palm heel strike. That's my advice for you. If it doesn't work for you, I guess go find someone else. However, that's what I got for you today. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time in this series on the basic strikes for the Protector.